And this thought of dedicating a class to being a tree, I have taught this class before, a different version of it. And it came to me in the midst of this week and all of the, we'll call it weather around us and energy around us, that channeling being a tree would feel lovely and be lovely and a lovely way to potentially move forward in this next week and maybe for the next year ahead. And I am going to channel I have a book that I love and it's called Be More Tree. And I will share bits and pieces of that during the class and at the end as well. I highly recommend it. It's a cute little coffee table book I found in an Airbnb a year or two ago. So with that, notice the soles of your feet underneath you and notice each and every cell down there. Notice all 10 toes and lift up the 10 toes, root them downward, one by one into the earth, sending your tendrils of energy down and feeling rooted. We say root to rise in yoga. And as you send your toes downward, draw up that energy from the earth into your legs, into your belly, and grow as tall as you can towards the sky. Take in a big, deep, nourishing breath. Trees also breathe. And a huge exhale. As you exhale, grow a little taller. And another big breath, growing as tall as you can, aligning your spine, standing tall like the most beautiful tree in the morning sunlight. And exhale. If it would feel good, close your eyes and bring a hand to heart and another hand atop. And take a moment with eyes closed to channel the energy of a tree. Trees are stable. They're solid, the trunk. Envisioning your body as a solid tree trunk. They are tall, usually, but not always, and elegant. And enjoy feeling that tree energy. Trees sway and blow in the storms. Rarely do they fall. Sometimes in the significant storms, significant winds, they do fall. But even then, as I mentioned, they can be beautiful on the ground. They can be beautiful chopped up. They make warm fires. Trees have this stable, steady energy. It's a calm, rooted energy. Potentially inviting this idea of moving forward more tree. A few other things that trees do is they live in community. Whether they live in a community of their own, like trees, which is often the case. They're often groves of redwoods or collections of pines, or we have a whole section here of bay laurel trees. So they often live together in community, taking care of each other. And the invitation of trees is to be in community, whether it is with those of us here, whether it is in a community of, say, coaching or women or a sewing circle. What kind of community can you be a part of? Modeling yourself after a tree community where the trees don't bicker, they don't fight, they live happily and peacefully. Trees also focus on their inner environment, their inner health, and also that close-in health. They shore up stream banks that are there. They take good care of the roots. They breathe with the other trees and the other humans around them, exchanging carbon dioxide, creating oxygen. We share that as we live with trees. Thinking about this interconnectedness, near and far, with all the beautiful humans here today with us, sharing this community. And thinking about this idea of community, which has come up in many classes recently as a source of support. What communities might be helpful for you to be a part of, to create, to nourish, to sustain, to support. And coming back to supporting your inner tree. What does your inner tree need to stand tall and grow and continue to thrive in whatever environment you're in? What adaptations might your tree need in 2025? Sometimes the environment around trees changes. There's erosion and there's more water or less water or more soil, or sometimes something grows up next to them and they adapt. And this, if ever, seems like a time in life that many of us will need to adapt. What adaptations can nourish your tree? Inhale into the bottom of your hands, the palmar surface, noticing your chest rise. Nourishing your inner tree. And exhale, let it out. Breathing into your core and your belly this time. Trees take good care of their center core. And exhale, send the breath this time, both down into your roots and out through your nose. Notice as you breathe how the tree becomes stronger, more steady, more stable. Maybe feels a bit more solid, a little less hollow. And pause for a moment, just embodying the tree. The invitation of this book is called Be More Tree. And my invitation to you is, how can you be more tree? Embodying the tree, feeling what it feels like to be a tree, caring for yourself like a tree, experiencing treeness on a cellular level. Trees are generally not anxious. They're not worrying about all the things outside of them. They're steady and content for the most part where they are, adapting when needed. And it doesn't look the same, these adaptations for all the trees. Some trees where I am grow horizontal, some grow diagonal, some send their leaves out in funky directions to find the sun. Thinking about trees that you live amongst or that you see, or maybe a tree from your childhood that brings back some of those lovely nature feelings, remembering that nature is healing. Trees themselves are healing. We can allow ourselves to be healed by trees and be that healing tree for others around us, creating perhaps a beautiful environment for the birds, sometimes bugs. Taking a moment just to enjoy being tree, whatever that looks like for you. You may want to send your roots down once again, refine the soles of your feet, and stabilize your trunk and reach towards the sun on a sunny day, especially in cold of winter where some of you are. Noticing that trees can look beautiful even when they've lost all their leaves. They have this calm, steady beautifulness in all the seasons, whether filled with beautiful fall leaves, spring buds, nice summer, juicy, happy leaves, or even in winter. Their limbs and branches have this beauty to them with drops of water or snow, or just in the cold air. Letting your brain soak in how it feels to look at a tree. The forest bathing thing, looking at trees, even when they don't have leaves, impacts your nervous system. And here we talk a lot about somaticism and somatic yoga and caring for your physiology as well. Trees help care for our physiology, and we care for their. We share breath. What can we learn from them? How can we be more like them? How are we all part of a beautiful interconnected forest near and far? from California to Kentucky to Canada, at least from some of the people I saw here today, often Florida and Vermont, and maybe even our Ireland friends are here today. All of the trees are interconnected. We share the same oxygen. Letting ourselves wrap ourselves up with that thought, that care, that connectedness. The invitation of trees and a healthy planet. And we'll take one more collective breath together, breathing in, growing tall and beautiful as a tree. And exhale, let it out. And we'll lower our hands by our sides, open your eyes, and come into that tree. Feel like a tree. Wiggle fingers, grow tall. Find your center, your core. Trees have very strong cores. In fact, when they're assessing the health of a tree, they take a core sample, I have learned. Inhaling arms out and up, reaching your tall branches as tall as you can. Palms will come together. Interlace your fingers and send your pointer fingers up to the sky, growing as tall as you can. Shimmy your side body. Huge breath in. Exhale, tip rightward, root the left leg downward and the left fingers stretch long towards the sunlight or the sky or the stars on the right side as you exhale. Inhale, lengthen, point your branches towards the right and grow. Fill the entire left side body with breath. Exhale, release, let it out, enjoy it. Inhale, use your strong core to come back to center. Exhale, tip leftward. Let the left side body feel amazing. Root the right foot downward, right 5 toes, root into the earth. Draw the breath up from the right foot through the right side body, through the fingers. Exhale, let it out. One more breath on this side. Use your core to take good care of your back here. And exhale, let it out. Come back to center. Open arms out and we will hug our tree, squeezing ourselves, wrapping your arms around, lifting elbows up above your chest if it happens to be in the way, and rock and give your tree a hug and have a tree sway in the breeze to open your back up, keeping feet stable and steady. Squeeze tight that big hug a tree, as we used to say in the 70s. And untangle, stretch your arms to either side wide. Pinch your scapula, spread your fingers wide as if spreading your buds open to the sunlight. Pinch the scapula, enjoy all the sensations, and hug your tree in the opposite direction, squeezing tight. Have a tree sway here with the hug. Enjoy it. Close your eyes perhaps and breathe. Embody that tree. Come to stillness. Squeeze tight once again. Exhale, release. Let it out. Open arms towards the sides and lower them down. Shrug your shoulders up to your ears. Drop your occiput into the shoulders and squeeze as tight as you can. Notice your core and your feet as you do this, squeezing tight, lots of energy. Wiggle fingers loosely. Exhale, melt your shoulders down. Let your palms fall open to the front. And stand tall in Tadasana, mountain pose. Send the breath to wrap around your heart here. Close eyes for a second and notice how you feel. And you'll open eyes. Bring your hands to your hips. And we're going to come into our first tree pose, lifting up on all of your tippy toes, reaching tall, waking up your ankles. You'll just lift up, hold still, and find your center, your core. Your puffed chest puffs out and the crown of your head reaches to the sky. Exhale, lower heels to the floor and engage the bottoms of your feet. Lift up all 10 toes, lower your roots down. Kickstand your right heel to the left calf. Draw that right knee back. Use your glutes here and even out your hips. You can have your hands on your hips. You'll know when your hips are not even. Slowly slide the right foot up to the right calf and find a steady tree, a low tree. You can keep your foot on the ground here too if your body is not quite ready. You'll notice your ankle wiggle and wobble, your toes wiggle and wobble, finding your balance here. This strong, steady tree with lots of triangles of knees and elbows, not going all the way into the tree yet. Draw your right knee back, engage your glutes. Notice your belly, stand tall, drop your shoulders, grow tall. And lower your foot, shake it out, roll your shoulders, and we'll come into a tree on the other side. I call it a mini tree. It's not really a baby tree. It's more of feels more like an old wise tree. Kickstand the left heel. Notice the right foot, sole of the foot, lift up your toes, root them downward, and slide that sole of the foot up to the calf. Draw your elbows back, press your hands into your waist, draw your knee back. Inhale and fill the entire heart space with breath, maybe with light. And potentially close your eyes in this tree if you wish, or leave them open. Noticing when we close our eyes, our balance is tippier. Find your steadiness. Find your core, that center tree core, and enjoy how it feels to be this kind of a tree. And we'll lower our foot, shake it out, roll your shoulders out, and drop them down, coming back to stand tall. Close eyes and channel that tree once again. Grow as tall as you can. Exhale, let it out. One more breath here, eyes closed. Mountain pose with a bit of tree in it. Mountains are filled with trees. It's a similar energy. You can think of that whole mountain covered with beautiful trees. Exhale, let it out. I like to envision breathing with the trees. It's one of my favorite things about forest bathing. Breathing in, out my window, I'm surrounded by trees. Breathe in what they are sending out. And exhale, let it out. Inhale your arms out and up. As you reach them out and up, open your eyes, bring your palms together, drip your hands forward into a forward fold, a gentle, easy one, as it's our first one. You may even use blocks if you happen to have them. Inhale for a half lift. Your back will be flat, your rear end will stick out. Exhale, bend elbows, release your head and neck, shaking your head, releasing. Bend one knee and then the other. Enjoy the space, the stretch, the waking up. Widen your feet a bit here. Grab opposite elbows and sink down into a forward fold. Release your lower back and have a sway here. Find your center, find that core. Lower hands to the floor. Find your belly and roll up inch by inch by inch, growing into a tree that's growing up, unfolding. Stand tall. Reach your arms out and up once again towards the sky. Palms will come together. You'll hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale for that half lift. Your hands come to shins or thighs. Back is flat. Exhale, fold forward. Here we will plant hands and step back to plank. Widen your feet a wee bit. Spread your fingers wide. Send your hand roots down, your palms into the earth. Coming into the plank pose, your belly is engaged here. Find your center and your core. You can envision yourself as a stable tree here, perhaps sway in the breeze, a horizontal tree. There's a tree on the way to my house here that grows completely horizontal across a creek. And every time it's surprising, and it's an incredibly healthy tree. So things might look different than you think. Shift forward onto your tippy toes, back to center. Drop your heels to the left, reach your right arm to the sky, coming into a side plank. And reach your arm long over your right ear. And you can envision yourself as some kind of tree here, rolling your wrist. And we'll come back to center. Find your center core. Envision your body as a long line of a tree trunk, Drop your heels to the right and reach that left arm up and breathe. Taking a rest while working. Reach the left arm over the left ear and enjoy the left line of the body. Noticing how stable you are in this unstable position. Many trees grow in unstable creek banks and on hillsides in weird shapes, and they're beautiful just the way they are. Reaching your hand to the sky, come back to center. Find your middle, shift your weight forward, and we'll bend our knees lower down, chaturanga, to the floor. Lower your forehead and take a moment on the earth, connecting to what's underneath there. In this moment of time with lots of swirliness around us and uncertainty and unsteadiness and things that may or may not make sense, noticing on the earth what feels steady, comfortable, solid. Weight is out of your hands. Inhale, lift up to a low cobra, a kind one, don't overdo it. Exhale, lower down. And we'll curl our toes and lift up to downward dog. And enjoy this upside down moment here. Walk the dog, wake things up, potentially bend knees a lot and straighten, lift your hips up to the sky. Remember to breathe intentionally. Continue to breathe. Close your eyes and pause in stillness for a moment here. Potentially lift up all 10 toes with the ball mounds of the feet on the earth. Your heels may still be up in the air, and lower them down. Soften in. Trees are patient and not reactive. Their timeline is long. And in this moment in time, patience might be wise. Remembering the long, long timeline of life and the world. Find your belly and your core. Readjust your feet. We're going to raise one leg up in the sky. So make sure that you're steady. A good lesson. Always make sure you're steady before you move. Raise the left leg to the sky. Big breath in. Press your heel to the back wall. Gently bend the left knee. Bring it between your hands. We're going to come into the low lunge or Anjaneyasana. And if you happen to have blocks, grab those, because blocks help you be more steady and stable. And you can have your fists on the blocks or hands on the blocks. Slide your back knee back and rise up to look forward. If you don't have blocks, rest your hands lightly on your front thigh and take a moment here to find your steadiness. Potentially close eyes and go inward. You can envision yourself here as like a tree stump with your roots going in either direction, toes helping you, top of the back foot, bottom of the front foot. When you feel steady, and it's a little less intense, and that might take a little adjustment here, waggling your hips, raise your arms up to the sky like branches. Potentially turn the hands forward and open them an inch or two wider. Spread your fingers wide as if they're like branches coming to the sky. And you'll notice probably some unsteadiness, maybe the right hip letting you know it's there. Close eyes here and breathe. And open your eyes, let the light in. Spread the fingers a little wider. Bring your hands back to heart center. Lower your hands to the floor and soften in here. Your heart is still light and shining forward. You may need to move your belly out of the way. You might want to rock a bit, inviting a bit of space, and then come to stillness. In yesterday's class, I mentioned this idea of trusting your body. And I should do a whole class on this, but I have been doing some work with a personal trainer who has pointed out that I don't trust. I don't trust my thighs, or I don't trust, I'm always hesitant when I begin to like sink into something or do a squat. And as many of you know, I talk about how we don't trust ourselves in medicine, and we're taught not to. So I am now using yoga as a practice of trusting your body. And little by little, I'll figure it out. But it was a very interesting thought that had never come to mind. So if any of you notice that when you move into some position where you can do it and you're strong, but you don't trust, and you have to consciously pause. And you may notice that happens in lots of settings right now in the world. And trees are pretty trusting. They trust their environments, and they modify as they need to. They trust themselves to modify. That's how they live for so many years, most of them. We will walk our hands back and come into a half splits here, moving gently, because that was a big release. Your front knee will straight and your back will lift up. You'll hinge at the waist forward over this front leg. If you have blocks, use them. If you don't, bring your hand to the thigh and gently fold forward over the left leg. Flex your ankle and point your ankle. Enjoy the back of the leg. Enjoy your calf. Wake things up. Let it feel good. And if you have blocks, you'll walk your hands forward up to about calf height. Bend that front knee, curl the back toe, and lift up to a high lunge here for a moment. Find your steadiness. Reorganize your hips. Tack that left hip back, right hip forward. You'll hop your back foot forward another foot and come into pyramid pose. You can move your blocks again. Let them be your roots, your stability. If you don't have blocks, you can have fists on the earth. And take a moment here to breathe into the back of the front leg. You can stay up with a flat back or round forward and bend elbows. Notice what feels best to you. Let the breath pour through. Lift up your front toes, lower them down. Another big breath here. And we'll walk our hands forward, coming into that half splits. Bring the blocks with you if you happen to have them. If you have a couch or a chair, you can use that. Or you can bring your hands to the floor. It's tippier. Your hips are square to the earth. Your right glute is fully engaged. Your right leg is sticking out at 90 degrees. Your heels reaching towards the back wall. You can bend your front knee or straighten it. Do what works for you. Easier to straighten if you have blocks. Let everything get heated up. Roll that back ankle in either direction. Lower your front leg alongside your back leg alongside the front. Come into a forward fold. Widen your feet a wee bit. Plant your left hand on the earth, planting it, sending the 5 fingers down like roots, and twist to the right. Left leg is bent, right knee is straight. And we'll switch sides. Enjoying the IT band on the straight leg. Right knee is bent, left leg is straight, left hand to the sky. Notice if you're gripping in your neck and let it go. I don't think trees grip. They are just steady and stable. Come back to center, juicy knees, release your back. Engage your belly and unroll up. Arms will come out and up to the sky. Palms come together. Drip your hands to heart center and pause here. 3 big breaths. Hand to heart, hands pressing together, thumbs pressed to the sternum, press into the heart. Notice the soles of your feet, your toes, send them down like roots. Draw up the earth's energy and nutrients, just like a tree does, into your belly, into your heart space. Bathe that heart with light and energy. Grow tall, grow the crown of your head to the sky. Exhale, let it out. Drop your hands, come into Tadasana, mountain pose. And we will come into another tree. Send your roots down in the right trunk, right leg is your trunk. Notice the 5 toes on your right foot. Send them into the earth. Send your roots down. Searching for nutrients, thinking in your life about where those nutrients are and where you might want to search off your mat, sending them all the way down. Bring hands to heart center this time. Palms together, thumbs to sternum. Use that as your source of strength. Kickstand your left heel. Slide your left heel up to your calf. If you wish, you can bring your left sole of the foot all the way up to your inner thigh. You choose what feels right. I encourage you to choose what feels steady in this moment of time. And you'll reach your arms up to the sky. Branches grow into the most beautiful tree, what feels good to you. And enjoy this tree. Notice that you need to find a spot far in front. Steady your gaze, focus your attention to balance here. How might you want to do that after off your mat? Where do you need to focus your attention in this time to be steady like a tree? Huge breath in, remembering to breathe and bathe your heart with the breath. Send the breath to your belly. Notice you're using your core here to stabilize your tree. Huge breath in and out. Open arms to the side, to a T. Draw your shoulder blades back, shoulders back, palms come back a wee bit. Notice you might get unstable. Wrap your hands in front as if you're hugging the tree. Palms come together in a big circle and open wide. Keep your balance. Lower your hands by your hips. Sweep them up, bring the palms together, hand to heart. Place the thumbs into the sternum. Draw your knee forward and lower it down. And be kind to that tree trunk, giving it a rest. Roll your ankle out, maybe shake it. Notice the power of shaking feels pretty darn good. And we'll reset here. Root your left foot downward. All 4 corners of the left foot, every cell on the sole of the left foot, the toes, lift them up, root them down. Kickstand your right sole of your foot. Slide it up to the calf or the inner thigh. And grow your beautiful branches to the sky. Pause, breathe. Imagine yourself as a tree amidst a forest of trees. Be your most graceful, beautiful community member. Steady your gaze, focusing on something. Drink in the breath. Slowly raise your arms out to that T and notice what happens. Little tippiness, re-steady. And notice as you re-steady, it's not the gripping that steadies you. It's the softening in, the micro adjustments. Some clues there. Wrap your arms in a huge circle forward like a beach ball or hugging a tree. And open your arms out to the sides. Draw your arms back. Pinch your shoulders. You may tip, no worries. Come back to center. Bring your hands back to heart center. Press your thumbs into your sternum. Draw your knee forward. Lower it down. Shake it out. Roll your ankles. Release. Shake everything out. A big shake of the hands. We know from somatics that all this shaking actually really helps. Some people just shake their whole body for 5 minutes in the morning, and in the world in this moment, you might want to try it. Bending your knees and wiggling your toes. Come to stillness. Notice how you feel. Close eyes. Come back to that Tadasana, mountain pose. Lift up all 5 toes. Send those roots down. Draw up the energy into your mountain and or your tree, into your belly. into the heart space. Wrap your heart with the breath, lightness, and light. Grow the crown of your head to the sky. Heart shines forward. Exhale long and smooth, softening in. 2 breaths here. Steadying breath. Yesterday's class was about steadying your inner landscape. And similar to this tree notion, what helps you steady your inner landscape? What helps you nourish your tree? And we'll open our eyes. Inhale and reach your arms out and up. Slight arch back. Your palms will come together and we'll fold forward, forward fold. Inhale for a half lift. Exhale, lower down. Once more, inhale for a half lift. Exhale, lower down. Plant your hands, step back to plank, pause. Find your core. Find your steady. With intention, shift forward onto your tippy toes, bend knees, roll your elbows in, untuck toes, and lower down chaturanga to the earth. If you want to come up dog, you can do that. We'll meet in down dog or low cobra. Do what your back craves. Coming back to meet in down dog. Enjoy a moment here, alternating knees. Shake your head, release the tension. Have a little shake here like you did upside down. Huge breath in, huge exhale, come to stillness. Notice what happens when you just allow yourself some time to rest. Trees actually allow themselves a season to rest. Many of them, they drop their leaves, they go into hibernation. Gifting yourself little bits of rest. Maybe you don't need a whole season, but maybe you do. Root the left foot into the earth. Lift up all 5 left toes. Root them downwards. Send your roots down. Envisioning this idea of rooting yourself to rise. Raise your right leg to the sky. Engage your glute. Roll your ankle in either direction. Huge breath into the heart space, down to your toes. Exhale, gently bring your foot between your hands. We'll come into the low lunge. And take your time here. No rush. No rush to arrive perfectly. You can readjust. Grab your blocks if you have them and enjoy this low lunge today. Let it be stable, rooted. Envision your front foot rooting down all 5 toes. Let the top of the back foot stabilize you. Grow tall in the torso, rise up. You can use the blocks as assistance or not. Let your heart shine forward. As you breathe in, just like a tree does, breathe in through the crown of your head, the top of your body, pouring the breath down through the front hip flexor and down to your toes. Draw the energy back up and the breath through your toes, through your hips, to your heart, up to your head. Exhale, let it out your mouth. If it feels good, raise your tree branches to the sky. Restabilize if you need. Make sure it's not too much. When this feels complete, and I encourage you to dabble with it a little, shimmy or based, whatever feels good. When you feel complete, lower your hands to the blocks or the thigh to start. And you'll press into the front foot, straight your front leg, come into the half splits here. Enjoy the back of the right leg. Point your toe and flex your ankle. Enjoy the energy shift and the stretch in the calf and the back of the leg and the shin. Let it be a bit of a massage. You always have to go get a massage, but you can massage yourself. There's a bit of nerve flossing, as I often do on our back here when you do this. And notice your breath, steady your breath. And we will walk the blocks forward. Come into that high lift to steady yourself. High lunge, sorry, lift to a high lunge. You may even want to widen your blocks and widen your stance. Notice your hips, tack your right hip back, left hip forward. When you're ready, hop your back foot forward. We're going to come to pyramid pose, both toes jet line to the front. Your back will be flat. Your heart shines forward. Send some love to the back of the right leg. Perhaps shift your weight back and forth. And find center, lowering toes and heels, even in the stretch and the edginess of it. Find your center. Potentially close eyes here in pyramid. Breathe. If you wish, bend elbows and fold forward over the right leg, taking your time. Huge breath in and out. If as you pause, the stress and anxiety or whatever pops up, just acknowledge it and go back to what you are doing. Focus your attention on purpose, gifting yourself a pause, nourishing yourself as you move forward. And remembering how trees move through the world. They have studied many storms, many political regimes and situations, many challenges. As the world environment keeps changing, they keep changing and growing, reaching to the sun, sending their roots down for the water, however far away it might be, regrowing after floods and storms. Bring your back foot forward to meet the front foot. We're going to come into our last forward fold. Widen your feet. If you have blocks, I encourage you to stack your blocks and lower your forehead on them, steadying your forehead. We know putting our head down on blocks is really good for anxiety. So if you happen to have some, steady yourself that way. Bend your knees if you need. You can put your head on a chair here as well. And if you don't have blocks, you should get some. You can get them lots of places for cheap. It's not a complex thing. But you can grab opposite elbows and reach downward. Maybe even press your forehead into your arms, cradling underneath your head. That pressure on the third eye is very stabilizing. And notice here upside down in this ridiculous spot, the soles of your feet, your roots. Root yourself downward. As you release, you can root downward. You're still steady and stable, even upside down. Lower hands, find your belly, and unroll yourself up, growing tall as if you're a tree growing up towards the sun. Noticing that inner core, inner strength here. And we will come to stand. Shrug your shoulders up towards your ears and lower them down. Let your palms face forward and take a moment here to steady and enjoy. And I realized we forgot to raise our right leg, and that's okay. So I will offer that if you feel the need, go do it with your blocks, the standing half splits. And I'm going to otherwise let this be an imperfect class because I feel complete without it. Recognizing that things can be imperfect and not a problem, and we can drop things and forget things and still move forward and be just fine. Breathing in, wrapping your heart with breath. Let yourself enjoy the moment. Rolling wrists in either direction. Come back to stillness. Notice the soles of your feet. Lift up all 10 toes, lower them down. Draw your energy up through your legs, through your belly, through your heart. Reach the crown of your head to the sky. Huge breath in. Bathe your heart space with breath and light and steadiness and oxygen. Exhale, let it out. And we'll open eyes. I wanted to do dancer pose before we hit the floor. Balancing once again, and my vision here is of dancing in the trees, which is something I love to do, and dancing in the storms. Finding both feet, rooting them downward, lift up all 10 toes, send them down into the earth, send your roots down. We'll raise our left knee up to hip height, 90 degrees, pause. Bring your hands to your hips to steady yourself. Notice what steadiness needs to happen here. And you'll slide your left hand over the left thigh, over the knee, and draw your heel to your rear end. Steady your hips and grow tall. Reach that right arm, growing tall. Find your balance. This could be your dancing pose, dancing amongst the trees. You are a bit of a tree here. And if it was fun, tip forward into even more of a dancer pose. You may wish to bend your front knee, stretch, enjoy that stretch in the left thigh, wiggle fingers, and envision yourself perhaps dancing amongst the trees at night under the stars with friends or whatever it might be. And if you're tippy, come back upright. I'm a very tippy dancer today. Find your steadiness, reach your hand to the sky, grow tall. And when you feel complete, lower down, shake it out. Be really, really kind to your right leg because we did a lot more balance today than we usually do. Come back, take a moment, flush it all out. Find your steadiness, wiggle it out, shaking hands perhaps. Root your left tree trunk down. Hands to hips, find steady, find stable. Your hips are a source of stable. Raise your right knee to 90 degrees. Find steady and stable again before you move forward. Notice your left ankle and your left feet and the sole of your foot. Slide right hand over the right thigh, over the right knee. Draw your heel to your rear end. Stand tall. Reach your left hand to the sky, coming into your dancer. And if you wish to tip forward and dance more, do that. You choose. You can bend your left knee if you wish. Enjoy the stretch in the right thigh. You'll press the top of the right foot into your hand. And if you don't like this pose, just don't do it. You can do more tree. You can come to the floor. Everything in these classes is optional. We're not used to having options. Most of us, we just do what we're told. But don't do what I tell you. You choose. It's good practice. Grow tall if you are tipped forward. Bring your left hand to your hip, shake it out, release your leg. Get all the wiggles out, have a big shake, particularly your hands. When things happen in the day or you hear about something, roll your ankles, shake your hands, shake everything out. Just let it go. Don't let it sit in there. And we will come today to lie on the floor. If you happen to have blocks, bring one with you. And let yourself arrive on the floor. I invite you to do knees bent, soles of the feet on the earth, palms on the floor, forearms on the floor. And take a moment from your feet to your head to connect to what is on the floor. All 10 toes can lift up and root downward, both soles of the feet. Your sacrum flat on the floor. Notice if it's not flat, find flat. Notice the 10 fingers, both palms, forearms. Potentially backs of the shoulders, maybe your scapula, your occiput. Take a moment to find the steadiness, the connection to the earth. And you will press into your hands, walk your heels slightly towards you, lift up into bridge pose. We'll come into an active bridge first. Shimmy your shoulders under you. Grab the edges of your mat and tug the mat towards your heels, lifting your hips up. Let your heart be light in your chest, coming into a bridge pose. Close your eyes and pause here, lifting hips up, hips reach to the sky like headlights. Your knees energetically reaching towards each other and forward, not splayed out to the right. Engaging your hips, lifting up higher. Tuck your shoulders under you a wee bit more. Let your heart be light here. Let it refill. Breathe. Huge breath in. Exhale, lift up a wee bit higher. Everything engaged. Untuck your shoulders, release your hands, and unroll inch by inch by inch by inch, vertebrae by vertebrae, till you reach the floor. Untuck your shoulders, draw your knees into your chest, rock side to side. Enjoy a release here. Let the rock go all the way to the edge, inviting a little bit of play till you're almost tipped over. And come back. Lower your feet to the floor once again. If you have the block, we're going to lift up into a supported bridge on the block. If you don't have a block, you can do another active bridge, but don't lift up too high. You'll press into your feet, lift your hips up and lower them down onto the block. You'll slide the block underneath you, either medium or lowest setting, and rest your sacrum on the block so you're stable. And take a moment here to rest. Noticing the blood flow coming back to your heart, back to your head. With intention, invite this refilling, restoring, and steady rest. Notice the tingles. Remember to breathe. Notice if you'd like big clearing breath, whatever feels good. Lifting hips up slightly. If your block is not on the lowest setting, lower it to the lowest setting. If you're in an active bridge, bring your hips to the floor. Plant your palms on the floor, all 10 fingers root down. Press your forearms to the floor and elbows to the floor. Bend your right knee to 90 degrees and your left knee, bring it up alongside. Your belly is engaged here. You'll raise your right leg to the sky, left leg alongside with the block underneath you. If you don't have the block underneath you, you just do this on the floor. Ensure that you're not folding towards your head and your sacrum is flat on the floor or the block. Feet reaching to the sky, towards the sun. Heels reach up towards the sky, legs straight and engaged. Relax in. Release the energy of holding everything flexed. Wiggle toes and fingers and let the energy and the blood flow shift back to your heart, to your head. Breathe all the while. Soften in. Enjoy. Bend one knee, lower it to the floor. Bend the other knee, lower it to the floor. Take a moment here to recalibrate. Trees move very slowly. Their roots grow very slowly. They shift towards the sun very slowly. No rush, no urgency. Sustainability, energy, maintenance tactic. Lift up hips and slide the block out if it's there. And arrive for a moment on the earth. Enjoy it. And we'll come into Supta Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together, knees apart, hand on heart, hand on belly. If you have your blocks today and you want to slide them under your knees, feel free. Might be a little more supportive, nourishing, restorative you choose. Taking a few breaths here to channel your tree. Huge cleansing breath in. And a horse's breath or a long exhale out. Another big inhale, and let the exhale go all the way to the end here. And I invite you to stay here for Shavasana today if that feels okay to you, especially if you have blocks under your knees and you feel steady and comfortable. And if you don't, or you prefer to come to lie on the floor, do that. And let yourself settle in, letting the earth hold you, care for you, and nourish you as if you were a tree. Letting yourself rest, restore, replenish, rejuvenate, perhaps as if you were a tree in winter, taking its time, gathering nourishment, healing, acquiring the energy it will need for the seasons ahead. And as you rest, I'm going to read a few of the pages from this book, How to Be More Tree, Essential Life Lessons for Perennial Happiness. Draw strength from others. Making the effort to connect with those around us can bring powerful results. The aspen knows there's no prize for acting like a tough guy who doesn't need anyone. In fact, belonging to something bigger than themselves is key to their strength. Ask for help when you need it. The elm is not embarrassed to ask for help when it finds itself in a tricky situation. If it comes under attack from caterpillars, it releases pheromones to attract parasitic wasps who then lay their eggs inside the caterpillars and neutralize the threat. Love where you live. Willow. It's hard to thrive if you don't take care of your immediate environment. The willow doesn't put up with a messy riverbank or a grubby river. It shores up crumbly soil with its root system and turns pollutants in the water into fertilizing nitrates. Self-care can start with something as simple as a lovely new bed linen, a special lunch, or a stabilized riverbank. Bask in the sun. Mountain hemlock. Serotonin is nicknamed the happy chemical because higher levels in our brain correlate with feeling positive and calm. Scientists are not sure why, but our brains release more serotonin when we're out in the sunshine. There's no doubt that spending time outdoors is vital for our well-being. Trees cannot survive without sunlight. Those like the coniferous mountain hemlock need lots of it. So when you're next thinking of staying inside on a sunny day, consider this. If the mountain hemlock had legs, it would use them to take it to the sunniest spot it could find every time. Attend to your core. Focus on building your inner strength, and you'll have a solid trunk to support you through the stresses of everyday life. Trees are masters of this. After all, their trunk has to support the weight of all their branches and foliage on the windiest of days. The center trunk is called the heartwood, and the black walnut in particular has impressive inner steel. It's admired for its beauty, its strength, and its heartwood is so tough it can withstand huge force without fragmenting. And last for today, stand tall. The baobab tree. If you ever need a reminder to stand tall and be proud of what you can do, have a look at the baobab. There's no polite way of saying it. This tree looks a little odd, but it is awesome. The baobab thrives in the harsh conditions of the African savanna. And while other trees might have to put up with being nibbled by goats or even a giraffe or two, the baobab has to contend with the attentions of thirsty elephants penetrating its soft bark. It's possibly the only tree that can expand to store water, and it lives for 2,000 years. Pretty impressive for a tree that looks like it's growing upside down. Trees are full of wisdom. You are full of wisdom. We can learn from trees. We can learn from each other. We can grow our heart center, our heart wood. We can grow in community. We can take good care of where we live, nourish ourselves, nourish our environment, nourish our centers. Nourish your center now with a bigger, deeper breath. Exhale, release, inviting the energy back in. Nourish yourself with a little bit of movement of fingers, toes. Nourish yourself with a stretch. And when you feel ready, come to a comfortable seat for the first time today. Send your sit bones downward like roots. Grow where you are planted, as we say. Grow upwards through your sit bones, through your spines. Reach the crown of your head to the sky. Bring a hand to heart, another hand atop. And take a moment, eyes closed if it's comfortable, to drop back into that Shavasana-like feeling inside. Take in a breath, wrap your heart with breath, fill your chest with breath, fill your belly with breath. And a huge exhale together collectively. May we all move forward this week a little bit more tree, taking care of our heart centers, taking care of each other and our communities, pausing, resting, nourishing ourselves, nourishing each other, breathing together, grounding, and standing tall, even if it feels like we're upside down. The light in me reflects and honors the light in each and every one of you. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.